Have you ever just felt like everyone is against you? Like everyone's out to get you? Where it just seems like everyone that you meet is either rude to you or, talks to you a certain kind of way, gives you energy that you just don't like, that you're not feeling. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out why it is that you feel like everyone's out to get you, that everyone's against you. And where a lot of this can start is we have this idea in our mind of how people would or should treat us based on the way that we treat them. So, in other words, we have this kind of relationship with people where we want to get something from them. And so we have this we feel like we're obligated to be treated a certain way because we treat others a certain way. And this leads to disappointment when that doesn't happen. And then when one person treats you badly, you tend to allow that to get in your head, and then you think this person's against you or these type of people are against you. And now every single other person you meet them with this mindset. And so when you meet someone new or you go into a different, situation, you're already expecting that that situation is going to go south because that's where your mindset is at. And it's one of those things where, going back to that other point, if you have this kind of mentality that people are automatically just obligated to be nice to you because you're nice to them. I saw this quote years ago that really kind of changed the way that I viewed things. And it said, expecting that from others is almost like expecting to come face to face with a lion in the jungle and expecting a lion to not eat you because you don't eat lions. And so it's really just important to, A, it says in the Bible to love others the way that you love yourself. And so when it comes to your relationship with other people, it's extremely important to love yourself and to respect yourself, because that way, if you ever find yourself in a situation where the relationship isn't giving you what you need, if it's not serving you in any way, like a romantic relationship or a friendship, if you feel like you are constantly being disrespected, the self-love needs to kind of shine through there. And sometimes self-love means leaving a relationship or leaving a friendship, but keeping that respect for yourself rather than hanging around those situations and not having any kind of self-love or self-respect. And so we tend to be more harsh on other people when we don't have that love for ourselves, when we don't have that understanding for ourselves. And so, another reason why we also tend to think that people are against us is because we just have this way of thinking about other people, and we tend to forget that everyone has different things that they're going through. So oftentimes in life, it gets easy for us to have just an unlimited amount of grace for ourselves if we treat someone badly or if we talk to someone sideways. But we don't realize that for other people, they need the same amount of grace, if not more. Because at the end of the day, someone might talk to you sideways one day, but you don't know what it is that they're going through. And the way that I look at it is, even though for me, if I'm going through something, I know that I'm pretty good at not taking that out on other people. But even though I know that that's me, I can't expect other people to be the same way. Because some people, when it comes to grief, when it comes to stress, people handle those things in different ways. And just because one person kind of lashes out and makes a mistake, that's not something that we should judge them by, or that's not something that we should hold them to. Because ultimately, sometimes you just catch someone on the wrong day and they might say something and deeply regret it. And then instead of you being able to forgive them or look past that, you're still holding on to that past memory. So then part of you just isn't able to move on because you've told yourself this thing about this person that may or may not be true, and you're just not allowing them to ever come back from that. And the way that I look at it also is, I remember one day in church, the pastor was giving a sermon, and he talked about how it's important to have grace for others the same way that Jesus has grace for us. Because it's crazy how when we make a mistake, we pray and we ask for forgiveness and all of those things. But if someone else makes a mistake, all of a sudden we wish the worst for them. All of a sudden, we just become so much more judgmental of them. And so the other thing too that I wanted to touch on with why we tend to think that other people are against us is, part of it also just comes down to our mindset, and it comes down to just not really being willing to accept people for what they are. And we try to change someone into being a different person based on who we think they should be. And this isn't to say that sometimes people are, mean, or sometimes people have the kind of personality where you can't necessarily relate to them, and that's okay. But sometimes we just take things a little too personal because we desire that community. We desire the friendships. We desire all of these things. But what we don't realize is you're not meant to be friends with everybody. Some people you come across in life, and they might have a certain personality or whatever that rubs you the wrong way. And that's okay. But I think it's important to not assign emotions in that situation. If someone has that kind of personality and you decide, okay, well, we don't really vibe well, that's not really the move for us, it's okay sometimes to just be like, okay, well, this person is like that. I'm going to keep my distance, but it's nothing against them. It's just that we don't vibe together. And when you don't associate emotions to a specific person, it allows you to not make judgments towards another person that might be in a similar position, or that might work at this, for the same company, or whatever the case may be. It allows you to still keep an open mind, because now you have this understanding of, okay, you're not meant to be friends with everybody that you cross paths with. Some people you cross paths and they might be there. Maybe the Lord wants to bring them in your life to teach you patience. And so maybe they're teaching you patience and then they're gone. And so I think that's what's super important too, is learning to understand that and learning to accept that without taking it personal, in terms of being too hard on yourself, or even being too critical of that other person. Because the way that the world works, there are so many people, of course, on earth. There are so many people in your city or whatever. And just because you don't vibe with a group of people, or you don't vibe with one person, it doesn't mean that you're unlikable. It just means that those people just don't click with you. Just from a vibe standpoint, just from a friendship standpoint, from a community standpoint. And that's okay. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. I just think for your mental health, for your emotional health and spiritual health, it's best that we wish those people well from a distance, and then we move on to find the people that we actually vibe with. So now you're not so focused on this small group of people that you don't rock with. You can focus on meeting a group of people that you actually, will rock with. And so having that mentality of not everyone's meant to be your friend, will really help you guys out, and help all of us really, to not have this mentality of, oh, not, people don't like me or whatever. Because no matter where you're at in life, you might be in high school and college, or, whatever, middle school, and you might think that you have this small, group, which is school or campus or whatever. And you might think, oh, well, in my class, there's 25 people and 23 don't like me, or whatever the case may be. And that might be like the whole world to us. But what we don't realize is, outside of that classroom, outside of that campus, there's so many more people who will like you, who will appreciate you, who will vibe with you from an energy standpoint, from, all of those things. And so, yeah, you guys, I wanted to make this video for anyone who is struggling with just, relationships and all of those things with people. And hopefully this video brought you guys some value, and it helped to give you guys that encouragement to understand that if you're not vibing with someone for a specific reason, not to take it personal, because all of these things happen. And I hope you guys got some value. Please like, comment, subscribe if you guys found this video helpful. And I'll talk to all of you guys in the next video.